Hello and welcome to, I'm not quite sure what to call it yet. I had a good name, but I actually just forgot it. So maybe I'll think of it later. But I am Steven Santana, and if you're watching this, then you have somehow stumbled upon the YouTube channel, Illustrious Magic, where me and my friends do a bunch of dumb video game stuff for fun because we enjoy doing it. So this is basically me playing for the first time ever The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, frequently hailed as potentially the best Zelda game ever, and I have had a very strange history with the Zelda games. I've always been interested in them, but haven't really ever played them through. I played A Link to the Past, not Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, which was the 3DS game. I actually bought a 3DS for A Link Between Worlds because GameSpot sung its praises so well that I decided I would finally get a 3DS XL with the bundle and whatnot. Turned out I actually did like it, but I got to like about the 6th temple and just kind of petered out and stopped being interested in it. And I played Twilight Princess, very overrated, did not think that was good at all. It was very slow, there was nothing interesting there. Skipped Skyward Sword, was never interested in that. I played Ocarina of Time and it was fine, but I played it after 3D games kind of were mastered, so going back to Ocarina was pretty rough, especially with that C-stick camera movement. And other than that, I haven't really played many other Zeldas. I played the original on the Game Boy Advance cartridge that they made on my old Game Boy Advance SP, and didn't understand it at all. I also think I had Adventure of Link, but I think I probably played that for all of 5 minutes. But I've always been interested in the Zelda series. I am very interested in Wind Waker. That's actually a game that I want to get when I finally get a Wii U. I don't know why I haven't gotten one already, but I'm very interested in getting that. And so here we are, and I'm playing Link to the Past. This is pre-recorded as I'm watching video gameplay that I captured earlier, so I don't know if I'm going to cut out a part where I die, because for some reason the controller, I thought it was a first-party Nintendo controller. Turns out it's actually made by a Chinese manufacturer and looks exactly like the regular Nintendo controller. So I guess that's what you get for not buying the Nintendo first-party seller off of Amazon.com. But I was not going to pay $40 for the classic controller for the Wii just so I could play Virtual Console games. So it does kind of control weird. I don't know if it's the game or if it's just the controller. But I don't know if the first-party Nintendo classic controller is actually all that much better. It's weird, but you'll see in the game when I'm actually playing it in the gameplay that it's off. Like the hitting diagonally, facing the enemy sometimes doesn't work when I'm moving. I'm actually moving sideways instead of facing it and moving forwards, and so my attacks are sometimes bad, and that can be a problem sometimes, especially when the person you're fighting has a shield and you actually have to line up the attack correctly to get him. And then I also get lost because I have no idea what the heck I'm supposed to do, because Zelda says something about help me push it from the left, so I actually think that I should be pushing it on the left side into the wall. You'll see it later on. But here, I'm just putting in the name, just do Steven. Wasn't going to do Link or Zelda or anything dumb like that. So the reason I didn't want to record video or audio as I'm playing is because I feel like I wanted to really get into this game, and the way to do that would be to have everything else off except for the video recorder, which was minimized in a window in the corner of my laptop as I played it. And the way I played it was I have the Wii hooked up to my TV through a HDMI converter, which is then running through the Elgato, which is what I use to capture all gameplay mostly, and then have that on the HD TV. Because the funny thing with the Wii is you actually can't put classic games on a HD TV. It just doesn't work. It'll work fine for Wii games, but for some reason when you try to tap that into an HD TV, I don't know if it's because of the CR TV type stuff that they had back when these games first came out. Some weird technical thing. I'm sure other people smarter than me know why that is. But also, I went back to this game because Retronauts, a popular podcast hosted by Jeremy Parrish and Bob Mackey of usgamer.net, they actually recently did a bit on The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in their latest Retronauts episode, which is August 19th, 2015 is when I'm recording this, so whenever that came out. So they talked about it, and they're pretty much the inspiration for me wanting to go back to play classic games. I usually subscribe to the theory that old game is old. Greg Miller says that, and it's just been something where I'm like, well, sometimes these games, people talk about them, and I just clicked that sign up. I thought I was going to read it, but I actually picked it up, so I just threw it against the wall and broke it. But yeah, I usually think that most classic games aren't worth going back to. I mean, there are some games that, because I've played them, the nostalgia kind of makes it to where I can bear it, such as Ace Combat, Kingdom Hearts, PlayStation 1 games too, like the Metal Gear Solid VR missions, because for some reason I actually never owned Metal Gear Solid until the PlayStation 3 came out with the classic. I actually had the VR missions. So it was really weird seeing these characters and cutscenes from a game that I actually would never play, because for some reason in VR missions they actually put like cutscenes and stuff from the actual Metal Gear Solid, and characters as well. They also had a weird photo mode where as you unlocked and beat more missions, you would be able to get closer to, I think it's Naomi and some other chick, Mei Ling was her name, whoever was the one that you would call to save your progress. You could like get closer to do photographs of them, and it would actually save it to the memory card. Really weird, kind of, I don't know, very Japanese, I guess you could say. But anyway, we're not talking about Metal Gear Solid, we're talking about Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. So finally found the hidden entrance. I believe I've watched the introduction to this before, and when I was playing it, I decided that I would get to the part where I save the princess and get to the sage. And so a lot of this is very reminiscent of A Link Between Worlds, specifically because A Link Between Worlds is a sequel to this game, A Link to the Past, which was the main one that I played on the 3DS. And it played very well, just kind of lost interest. There wasn't really any reason for me to continue playing. I got to a few dungeons, beat a few bosses. It was fun, but there was nothing compelling there for me. There was nothing as far as like the plot or even gameplay really that was making me want to play the entirety of this game. So I found it enjoyable, but it was nowhere near the just depth of quality that other people talked about. And I just understand that maybe Zelda is not for me. So this is the first time I use the item, the lamp. Throughout this video, you'll see I sometimes will frequently hit the wrong button, and instead of hitting the lamp, I'll use the menu, or I'll open the map or something when I'm actually supposed to be switching, or stuff like that. Just the controls take some getting used to. I'm sure I'll stop that at the next time when I get more and more used to it. So right now, cutting through the bushes, trying to get to the castle. Kind of like that obsessive thing where in Zelda games you have to cut all the bushes because, well, why not? So this is probably a fight where my inability to actually use the controller correctly will end up resulting in health losses that really shouldn't have happened. So yeah, so like, it's weird the way that you can't do it diagonally. They actually talked about this on the Retronauts podcast, but they came up with the spin attack move because it was easier than trying to make Link have a diagonal attack, which would help a lot here because with the way that the shields are facing and their swords and whatnot, being able to come at them from a diagonal angle would actually work out very well. So it took a few hits there that I probably shouldn't have. I thought those were like giant fire pits that I should light up to reveal something, but turns out they're just giant pots for some reason. So playing through this first level, the opening of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, notice that his hair is a weird magenta. It's not quite purple. It's also not quite pink. It's just a very strange color choice. I do really like the graphics, though. That's something that I've always loved about the SNES, more so than the NES. I appreciate NES games, but I feel like SNES is really when the little bit graphics really came into their own, with Super Metroid and Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island 2, and A Link to the Past, and I'm sure many, many other SNES games such as Final Fantasy just really took it to the next level as far as graphics go. And I think that it's actually almost the perfect melding of simplified visuals but still complex enough to show you things, and you see it and you actually recognize it as what it is. With the NES, I mean, you look at Metroid for the NES, or even the original Legend of Zelda, it's like the jump from that quality of visuals to A Link to the Past and Super Metroid is like, it's so big. It's almost the same as like when 2D games went to 3D. However, 3D games didn't quite they just don't look that good when you look back on them. You look at the first, I mean, even with like Ocarina of Time, I mean, there's a reason they remade it on the 3DS. Oh, see, look, I'm not very good at, I don't know if it's the controller or if I just suck. I mean, it could just be that I suck. It's very possible. But yeah, you look at like 3D games, and everyone knows like early 3D polygon games just don't hold up. But games like this, they still look very good. I just walked past the throne entrance room, which, I mean, doesn't really matter right now, but I actually had no idea that was there, and I'm pretty sure if I had actually seen the door, I probably would have went up there anyway. But right now I'm still trying to find out where the heck am I supposed to go. Just trying to get a feel for the map. At first I thought that there was no actual map to look at, but I actually find the chest later on that shows me where everything is. And so at first I thought I was going to have to memorize the entire map layout of the castle to figure out where Zelda is and whatnot, but it turns out they actually do give you a map, which is very nice. I like that. That was my main problem with A Link Between Worlds, is they gave you this big world to explore. I mean, it's the same world as A Link to the Past, but they gave you a map that showed you where everything was right off the bat. So I didn't like that. I don't like that there was no sense of exploration. There was no sense of discovery when you would come across all of these like different lands. It's like, well, I already know what's there. Like, I know if I go to the top left, there's the forest. I know in like the bottom left, there's like this weird desert area and stuff. It just took away like the sense of exploration that I got from other Zelda titles, like Twilight Princess, even though it was pretty much a remake of Ocarina of Time. Like, it still had somewhat of a sense of exploration when I would go to different areas and I wouldn't know where to go to progress, basically, which ended up being a problem later on. But I still enjoyed the sense of discovery with that. And A Link Between Worlds didn't let me have that because it just showed me where everything was, except for inside the dungeons. I also noticed with this a lot of the stuff that A Link Between Worlds took, like the depth of the game, especially when you're going up the stairs into like the second level in this game. Like, I can see very much where they saw that and were like, oh, well, we could totally expand upon that with the 3D of the 3DS, which is pretty much never really used in any satisfactory way in most other 3DS games. It's pretty much a gimmick. Like, that's been Nintendo's thing for a while now, is every console has to have a gimmick. With the Nintendo DS, it was the second screen, even though that actually turned out being like a great thing, actually. Like, the DS was a really great console. With the Wii, it was motion controls, which nobody cares about anymore. And with the Wii U, they tried doing the gamepad, which was technically a second screen sort of thing, but because it wasn't a portable platform like the DS where you can have both screens in a relatively same amount area, yeah, I'm just dying here. Unlike the Wii, or the DS or the 3DS, where both screens are in a relatively close area, which makes it easy, they decided to make it a gamepad, which is off-screen, which is great for off-screen play and whatnot, but for one, it's like games with like upcoming Star Fox Zero, where it's like they want you to be constantly looking at the gamepad, but also looking at the TV. And because the TV shows you a different area than the gamepad does, it's like, why? Like, it doesn't work out. But thankfully, this is the SNES, where Zelda and Metroid even were beloved series and actually really hitting their high points. Unlike now, where Zelda, we're still waiting for it. It might be on NX. It should be on Wii U. We're still pretty hopeful. And Metroid, we're getting Federation Force. That sure is a Metroid game. So here I'm finally getting down to the dungeon to rescue Zelda, and oh yeah, I hit that, and I guess I meant to hit it, but yeah, I'll frequently hit the start button or bring up the menu or something accidentally because I'm not supposed to. So here we are, bottom level. Yeah, so I recently, or later on in the video, I find out that sometimes it's just not worth attacking the enemies. The pots are great though. Pots always have hearts underneath them. I was gonna say health, but it is health. I always hated how in Zelda, oh, see, this is one of those times where I'm like, oh, I want to use the boomerang, but what button is it? I was surprised at first because I thought the boomerang actually took up magic, but it turns out it doesn't. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna use the boomerang a lot until I get like the bow and arrow probably. So this guy's pretty much like your first mini boss
I was like thinking, how much health does this guy have? But yeah, he's pretty tough. He shows up again later after I die, and I have to come back here. But I just run past him because I'm like, I don't care about this anymore. I already unlocked the door for Princess Zelda, so. Oh, thank you, Steven. Oh yeah, this was during another weird time where everyone would put in their names to be like, to be in the game itself, even though later on people realized, actually, let's just give him a name and have him be a character instead of, I don't know, I never really caught on to the silent protagonist thing. I never really enjoyed it. I always would prefer to have a voice character, even if it's a bad character, because having a non-voice character interact with people in a world where they're talking, but you're just kind of just standing there, it's just like, I don't know, it kind of breaks it for me. So now I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, wait, what did she say? I forget. Where are we supposed to go? Thankfully the enemies haven't respawned here, or else I would be in a heap of trouble. Another interesting thing Retronauts brought up was actually that apparently, I think it was Jeremy or Bob, yes, this is the part where I'm just like, I'm just gonna run past them. Like, there's no reason for me to fight them. I mean, really, there's no reason. I already have hearts. Right now I don't really care about money, so I'm just gonna leave these guys alone. Yeah, so Jeremy Parrish or Bob Mackey, I forget which one, brought up that when Zelda's following you during this part, it's actually potentially like a leftover from the original Inception? Whatever. The original idea for this game was for there to be 3 playable characters. There would be Link, Zelda, and then I think it was a fairy or an elf, so I guess probably like an early prototype for Sheik or something. And so you would play those 3 characters throughout the game, and that obviously got scrapped and was used later on for things like Four Swords or Spirit Tracks. I think the sequel to Spirit Tracks, or was it Spirit Tracks, where you could control like a ghost Zelda, and she would take control of like a suit of armor or something to help you out with puzzles and progression. But they kind of brought that back with future Zelda games, where you would play as different characters throughout the game. Especially with the Triforce Heroes, which is coming out for 3DS, where you're playing as 3 different Links, and they actually let you dress up as Zelda, which was a nice touch there. So right now I'm trying to figure out what the heck to do. Yeah, so this is a bad part where I kind of run around for like a minute like an idiot because I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do. Because I read this and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, push it from the left or something. And I'm like, okay, I'll get on the right, and you get on the left. And I'm like, okay, like why isn't she getting on the left? And yeah, I don't know why I do this. See, because she does that where she looks at the shrine for like a second, and I'm like, oh, I'm not in the right pixel area for her to like do her animation in sync with me. And so I keep thinking that I'm supposed to like do something, and I'm like, oh wait, do I light on fire? And it's just like, no. Okay, what do I do? I'm lost. Oh man. And I'm like, oh wait, maybe it was the chair. I was supposed to move the chair. But it's like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. So yeah, so I just kind of sit here like, I'm so dumb. It's one of those things where like I guess in the midst of it I could understand what was going on, but like looking back on it, it's just like you're supposed to push it from the left, like just push it to the side, just do it. I'm so dumb. So now I'm like, okay, maybe she's supposed to help me unlock the front of the gate and not this area. And there was no way to like talk to her again to get that same dialogue sequence. So I actually would have to die to replay it to actually hear that dialogue again, which is ends up what's happening. Even though I don't really do it purposefully, it just kind of happens because I'm bad at combat. But yeah, the other classic SNES and one NES game that I do have on my Wii is, I have this, Link to the Past, I have Super Metroid, and then I have, for the NES, I have Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, because of Colin Moriarty. And then on the last game, oh, it's another SNES game. It's Super Mario World. And so I've played a bit of both Super Mario World and Super Metroid. I mostly played Super Metroid with my friends. We did like 3 videos of Super Metroid of me just playing it and them kind of just watching and commentating, because none of them have actually ever played Super Metroid either. I had played it a little bit on an emulator, like way back when, but I just wasn't satisfied with it, so I decided I would wait until, oh, see, there you go, I died. Yeah, whatever, game over. Yep, and then I come back here and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight this guy. I don't know why. Why did I run into him? Oh, I'm so dumb. So I decided, oh, I don't know. Oh, okay, I fight this guy because I want to try and get health. But then I realized, oh, there's jars over here. That's actually what would work good. Yeah, later on I discovered that throwing jars at people is actually probably one of the best ways to fight people in this game. It's the coward's way, is just to pick up stuff and throw it at them. Kind of like wrestling. When I was young and I didn't understand that wrestling was fake, I would always be thinking, why don't they just grab a chair and just keep beating him with it? For some reason, my little kid head, I didn't understand that this wasn't real, that these people were actually, like, fake fighting. What a wonderful time. Like, what a great magical time to be alive. To think that wrestling was real and these people were actually mad at each other for dumb things and dumping their bodies in the river or something to die, and that they come back in the ring and fight them and stuff. Ugh. So yeah, I realized here that I was like, oh, okay, there is a reason why the railings are there in some areas and some not, where you can actually jump off of the second level onto the first. But yeah, we have 3 videos for Super Metroid, and then I'll probably be jumping in between them as far as like what classic games I'll be playing. Right now I only have my Wii and my Xbox 360, or not Xbox 360, my Xbox One at home, and those are my main consoles right now. So I plan on doing a lot more of these, of like just basically playing through classic games and doing voiceover for some, maybe not all of them. Maybe I'll shorten it and pick out a specific section to cover as far as audio is concerned and just publish the rest, or I don't know. I'm not quite sure what. I just know that I want to do something. Like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I don't want to just be playing games without actually making anything out of it, but we'll see what happens. So right now I'm like, okay, now I understand, like, well, maybe not. Yep, okay, I'm still dumb then. I don't understand. Just push it to the left. Oh my gosh. Oh well. Yep, I'll figure it out. Yeah, I like Super Metroid a lot. I like Mario World. I'm not particularly good at it, and again, I'm not sure if it's just the controller or if it's just me. I'm also bad at Mario games at first. The only one I've played extensively was New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, and man, I was bomb at that game. Mostly because I played it extensively for about 2 years. So obviously I would either not play it or get good at it. There's a specific minigame in that game too, where, oh, see, look, I'm so smart. There's a specific minigame in that too, where you would have Mario constantly jumping from this edge on the right side of the top screen, and you would have to draw like trampolines or something on the bottom screen. And you can only draw 3 at a time, and you would have to angle them in such a way that Mario would be able to like jump on top of them and be shot up onto the left top part of the screen. And so that way you would like get all these Marios and get like a high score or something. And there was no real reason for it, because you couldn't go online and like, you know, post your leaderboard score to like your friends or, you know, dumb stuff like that. But man, that consumed so many car rides when I was young, was just playing that that like trampoline game, mini game in New Super Mario Brothers. I was so good at that game too. I got like all the hidden exits, I think, and like I'm pretty sure I got like all those secret stars and stuff. Ugh, it was so good. But Yeah, Super Mario World. I'm not that good at it. Like I like it a lot. I like Yoshi. I like the visual style of it. I haven't really gotten used to the cape at all. Like I just got to the level that kind of introduces you to it and tries to teach you what to do as far as like using the cape, but I just was not very good. So I'm still working on that. I like Super Metroid a lot. I'm actually pretty good at that game. Right now I'm actually stuck though, where I just don't know where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do. So I'm pretty stuck there. I'm gonna have to find a guide or somehow have a stroke of just genius where I figure out what the heck it is I'm missing. Hopefully I figure that out. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is pretty straightforward Castlevania game. There's not much there hasn't been hit before with Symphony of the Night or anything. It's, the predecessor. It's not quite Simon's Quest, which is like the weird sequel that a lot of NES games occurred with Mario and Zelda and Castlevania, with like just these big departures from what came before. So this is where I figure out that throwing stuff at enemies is actually very effective. Yeah, it's very effective. And I also discovered that the lights actually go out after a certain amount of time, and that water is deadly to the insects and rats. Even though I was thinking that, while I understand that insects are probably, dead when they hit the water, just instantly dead, all insects. Rats would actually do pretty okay in the water, I feel. I think there's something there that they know how to swim somehow. It's part of their animal instinct. But apparently in Zelda, no, they just die. I also noticed there's a crack in the left hallway there. So I know I'm like, okay, so there are Metroid conventions here where, you don't quite have the item yet to unlock this area, so come back later to unveil secrets. And I don't know, maybe there'll be a heart container, or maybe there'll be nothing except for a blue rupee, which by the time I get late in the game will probably be useless because I'll have all the money in the world and won't really have anything to spend it on. Yeah, I hated this room. This room was just oh my god, I don't know why, but I felt like I had to kill all the rats. And I wanted to kill them with the bucket, and then that one hits me. Yeah, I don't know why. I was obsessed with just killing all the rats. Getting close to the end. I'm about to hit the sanctuary. Yeah, so gotta hit the switch. Yeah, I wanted to record not the first half hour, even though it ended up being exactly the first half hour. Well, it would have been shorter, but I died because I'm bad at games. I was so afraid I was gonna die here too, especially that part where I only had half a thing left. And then that thing pops up and I'm freaking out, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I'm so dead. But yeah, it actually ended up being a perfect half hour. So that actually worked out really well. That also did where I was able to get all of them with a single swing. That was really cool. So I decided I was going to get to the sanctuary. I remember that being in the Link Between Worlds, where you save Zelda and bring her to the church, and then you kind of just go out from there and discover the first initial 3 temples, and then they open up the 7 sages temples, so you have to rescue all of them. So I'm okay, I understand the setup to it. I'm gonna have to go to the temples and beat the dungeons in a certain order with the items to unlock everything, and then eventually I'll get to the Dark World, or somewhere in there I'll discover the Dark World and stuff, and be swapping in between them constantly. So yeah, so she told me to get the Master Sword. There's some cool music, not quite iconic, but I was curious if saying not at all would have him just automatically repeat whatever it was he was already saying, or if it would be something different. And I get a heart piece. So more health, awesome. Gonna need that, because I certainly need more health when fighting people. So yeah, that's my first half hour of A Link to the Past. It's sunny outside now. Great. Yeah, so I'll be playing more of this, obviously. Hope you enjoyed me fumbling through that first introduction scene, getting Zelda, getting to the church, figuring out that next thing I gotta do is go to the Lost Woods to get the Master Sword, which is apparently a very iconic scene, so I'm looking forward to it. and I'm looking forward to just playing more of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. If this one isn't the one that gets me into Zelda, I'm not quite sure any of them will. So, thank you for watching. You can find me on Twitter at number8axel, and you can find more of our stuff on Illustrious Magic.